Good afternoon, Michiganders. As the President said, we just had a positive meeting with President Trump. We as Muslims stand with President Trump because he promises peace. He promises peace, not war. We are supporting Donald Trump because he promised to end war in the Middle East and Ukraine. The bloodshed has to stop all over the world, and I think this man can make that happen. I personally believe that God saved his life twice for a reason.
Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. Today we are diving into a significant political development, the recent endorsement of President Donald Trump by prominent Muslim community leaders in Michigan, the broader trend of Arab Americans gravitating toward Trump, and the images of anti-Kamala Harris voters influenced by the situation in Gaza. Let's explore these topics and understand the reactions they are eliciting.
I came home the day I met Trump, and I gave my son a MAGA hat, and I said, I guess we're there. And he said, ew. His first words to me were, ew. I said, but Baba, he said he's going to stop the war. And he said, okay, that's it. Give me that hat. We're voting for Trump. And that's the sentiment, not just of an 8-year-old, but of an entire community. If you're going to stop the war, even if I don't like you, I'm on your team.
We are feeling a whole range of emotions as we process Trump's victory. Donald Trump is playing our communities, is playing American voters, is playing the Arab and Muslim community. And it is failed democratic leadership that is allowing him to do that. I mean, the folks who voted for Trump are not theoretical to me. The folks who voted for Trump are my cousins, my friends, people who were tasked with a very difficult, task of carrying a lot of grief and trying to do a politically savvy thing at the same time.
Well, no surprise that Dearborn Heights, and city of Hamtramck voted all for President Trump. I think that there were a clear indication that this community was truly upset, angry at the Biden-Harris administration.
Now, I don't know which one is more ridiculous. Trump's comments that the US will own the Gaza Strip and redevelop it for the people of the world, or the fact that he's trying to present this suggestion as stemming from his concern for the people of Gaza. I mean, he claims he doesn't want the people of Gaza living in a massive demolition site. He's worried about unexploded munitions and the spread of disease. However, what makes this suggestion so absurd is the fact that this destruction wasn't caused by some natural disaster. It was the result of the American bombs and support for the Zionist onslaught in Gaza. And to top it all off, the person responsible for turning Gaza into a demolition site is sitting right across him with a huge smirk on his face. You couldn't make this stuff up. Truly ridiculous.
Where are my Muslims for Trump? Dearborn, Michigan, you in the house? Jill Stein, this is your time. This is your time to shine, Stein. Speak up. How about all those leftists who came out and said don't vote for Kamala Harris because she's just as bad as Donald Trump and she's for genocide? How about that? Where are you guys? Where are you now that Donald Trump is relocating 2 million Palestinians and taking over as America control of Gaza Strip? He wants to level it. He wants to turn it into a parking lot and build towers on it. Those towers are going to say Trump Tower. You guys really, really thought that Donald Trump was going to be good for Gaza and Palestinians? You guys really thought that? So great. Great. You said, come on out. Don't vote for Kamala Harris. Either stay home or vote for Donald Trump. Let's hear from you now. Post. Let's see these videos. This is your victory march, right? Donald Trump won. He's now talking about Gaza. He's talking about Palestinians. It's front and center. Let's hear it. I want to hear you guys' take. Where are you, Dearborn? Speak up. You guys had 40,000 people. Probably stay home. Michigan went red. That was one of the states that helped determine this election. Jill Stein, you were on this app for months. The political cicada, Jill Stein, who comes out every 4 years to ruin everything. Where are you? Where are all those leftists on here talking about Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, how they're no better? You think Kamala Harris would have done this? Come on, let's hear from you. Now's your time to shine.
This is definitely peak United States culture. You have white men generalizing marginalized groups for the shortcomings of their government, right? Because historically, white men have voted Republican, conservative, over 50%, more than like majority vote for Republicans. White women, majority of them vote for Republicans. And these are some of the largest demographics of the United States. But Muslims, less than 1%. There's actually more Jews in the United States than Muslims. So less than 1%. Then you're blaming leftists who, they're not a bunch of leftists, right? And you're blaming like progressives. You're blaming the marginalized groups, the people generally without power, for the shortcomings of the government that your demographic primarily controls. Your demographic primarily vote for the outward racist. Like at this point, I'm very curious, like what are you, your demographic, people like yourself, you liberals, what are you afraid of? Clearly, like your demographic vote for primarily Trump, Republicans, but you're blaming Muslims and marginalized groups. You're going to fit perfect in the United States right now. Like this is a time to be alive. What did Chris Rock say in The Longest Yard? Like, smile, you're white.
Why are you focusing on Muslims? I'm a white-ass bitch that her family goes all the way back to the fucking Revolutionary War on my mother's side. I didn't vote at all. I'll never vote again for either party. Ever. Why don't you complain? Because it doesn't matter. All those fuckers that add up, you still would have fucking lost. Because you're bad people. Liberals are worse than Republicans. Because they've lied to me for 42 years and I voted that long. No more. You blame Jews for the Holocaust. Everyone that voted third party couldn't add up to let you win. I didn't vote at all. After 42 years voting Democrat, I stayed the fuck home. I don't vote for people who use their military bombs to commit a G-side. I don't care what side it's on. I've been voting for 42 years, and you know what I've gotten out of fucking liberals? Big fucking goose egg. You get worse and worse and worse. In 42 years, I've watched you go from bullshit to bullshit to bullshit. Let's say it's World War II, and we were having an election, right? And I was Jewish. And I voted for the whatever party. That's what you guys be doing. Where are all those Jews now? Now you're gonna die, Jews. Yeah, you Jews, you're gonna die now. God, you guys are sickening. God, I look like crap. Because I can't sleep. But it has absolutely nothing to do with the election. It has to do with how horrible Americans are and how goddamn selfish they are. And they don't give a shit for decades. 500,000 Iraqi.
Despite criticism from leaders around the world and even the filing of impeachment articles, this morning Donald Trump has doubled down and restated that the Gaza Strip would be turned over to the United States by Israel at the conclusion of fighting. A couple of other things that he clarified in his post is that the 1.8 million Palestinians would only be temporarily relocated while the rebuilding takes place, and that they will be resettled in far safer, more beautiful communities with new modern homes in the region. He then noted that the US will work with development teams from all around the world to begin construction, and that no US soldiers will enter Gaza. But this meant little to Representative Al Green, because he announced that despite Trump being president for less than a month, he is planning on filing impeachment articles against him for his plan for Gaza, saying injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere, and injustice in Gaza is a threat to justice in the United States of America. Al Green has in the past made multiple unsuccessful attempts to impeach Trump, and similar to those last efforts, there's not much momentum on this one yet either. But of course, I'll keep you guys updated.
The second phase of the Gaza ceasefire was supposed to begin today. What happened instead is Netanyahu met with Trump to lobby his approval for another arms package to continue the war in Gaza. Again, negotiations for Phase 2 were set to begin today, and they were postponed by Netanyahu until after his trip to Washington, leaving many outraged and wondering why. Well, we don't have to wait for the answer because Trump has just officially requested congressional approval for a new arms sale to Israel worth up to $1 billion. The proposed package, no doubt requested by Netanyahu himself, includes 4,700 1,000-pound bombs valued at over $700 million. It also includes armored bulldozers valued at over $300 million. And of course, after this request, Donald Trump told reporters that there is no guarantee that the ceasefire in Gaza will hold. Hamas has told the mediators in Egypt that they are ready to negotiate for Phase 2. The only holdup is Netanyahu and Donald Trump. Because this ceasefire was never meant to hold. It was always meant to give Israel more time to rearm.
The whole situation with Arab American voters and Trump is shaking up political expectations in a way that a lot of people didn't see coming. They added that Trump, who in 2017 introduced the so-called Muslim ban, is now getting endorsements from prominent Muslim community leaders in Michigan feels almost surreal. But when you look at what is happening globally, especially with Gaza, and the frustration many Arab Americans feel toward the Democratic Party, the shift starts making a lot more sense. For a long time, Arab American voters were seen as a reliable Democratic voting bloc. Michigan, specifically places like Dearborn, has a large Arab American population, and they overwhelmingly backed Biden in 2020. But now, with what is happening in Gaza and how the Biden administration has handled the conflict, there is a real sense of betrayal. Many Arab Americans feel like their voices are being ignored. Biden has continued to send military aid to Israel, and despite some lukewarm statements about humanitarian aid, people see his administration policy as being complete in what they view as atrocity. So when Trump comes along and says he would patronize peace in the Middle East, or at least not escalate things further, that message starts resonating, even if it's coming from an unexpected source. Trump's endorsement from Muslim leaders in Michigan shows that this isn't just about historic. This is a serious political realignment. This hasn't just random community members expressing frustration online. These are leaders who have influence over the communities. The fact that they are willing to publicly support Trump tells you just how deep the discontent with the Democratic wrongs. It's not necessary that these leaders believe Trump is their ideal candidate, but when you feel like your own party is ignoring you, the natural response is to look elsewhere. Now let's talk about the broader trend of Arab Americans shifting toward Trump. According to a recent poll, 42% of Arab American voters now favor Trump compared to 41% for Kamala Harris. That is almost an even split, something that would have been unthinkable just a few years ago. Back in 2020, Arab Americans overwhelmingly backed Biden over Trump with 59% support compared to Trump's 35%. That is a huge change in just 4 years. One of the biggest reasons for this shift is simple: foreign policy. The way the Biden administration has handled the war in Gaza has alienated a lot of voters who previously supported him. Many Arab Americans and Muslim voters feel that Biden has turned a blind eye to Palestinian suffering, and they are angry about it. Some activists have even pushed for an uncommitted vote movement, urging Democrats to withhold their votes in the primary as a way of signaling their dissatisfaction. And clearly, that frustration is carrying over into the general election. And then there is the issue of Kamala Harris. Some voters are specifically rejecting her because her response to Gaza, the uncommitted national movement, which started off as a way to protest Biden's policy, has now called for people to cast anti-Trump votes. But at the same time, they have also distanced themselves from Harris. Leading Muslim American scholars and imams have urged their communities to refuse to support her. The reason they see her as a complice in the same policy that are fueling their anger with Biden. So we are in the strange situation where Biden and Harris are losing support among Arab and Muslim voters. But instead of those voters automatically shifting to Trump, some are looking for alternative options for refusing to vote at all. Well, let's be real, a lot of these shifts are less about people suddenly loving Trump and more about them being fed up with the Democrats. Trump is benefiting from Biden's failures, not necessarily winning over voters with a radical different message. The big question is whether this discontent will last until election day, or if the Biden campaign will do something to repair the damage. Some Democrats are trying to do damage control, but it might be too late. There is a clear divide between establishment Democrats who assume that Arab American voters will eventually come back home by November, and younger progressives who understand just how serious this situation is. The Biden campaign seems to be banking on the idea that Trump's history with Muslim community, like the travel bans and his anti-Muslim historic, will push voters back to the Democratic side. But that assumes that people will simply forget what is happening in Gaza, and that is a huge miscalculation. When you look at the social media, especially TikTok and Twitter, X, the conversations are overwhelmingly critical of Biden and Harris. People are posting videos of destroying buildings in Gaza, children being put from Reuben, and side-by-side comparison of Biden's statements versus his actions. The narrative isn't just that Biden is failing to stop the war, it's that he is actively supporting it. And for a lot of Arab American voters, that is unforgivable. Even outside the Arab American community, this is having an impact. A lot of young voters, progressive and left-leaning independents, are watching how Biden handles this situation. They may not be directly affected by what is happening in Gaza, but they see it as a moral issue, and if they feel like Biden is failing the moral test, they may decide to stay home on election day, or worse for him, vote third party. Trump's campaign, on the other hand, is being smart about this. They are not trying to make a big deal out of it or run ads targeting Arab voters directly. Instead, they are just letting the frustration with Biden do all the work for them. They don't need to win over every Arab voter. They just need to pay off enough support to make a difference in king swing states like Michigan. And right now, it looks like that is exactly what is happening. So where does this leave things? If Biden and Harris doesn't do something drastic to change the narrative, they could be in serious trouble. The Arab American vote might not be the largest demographic in the US, but in king swing states like Michigan, every vote counts. And if Trump continues to get traction with these voters, it could be enough to tip the election in his favor. At the same time, Trump isn't guaranteed to keep this support either. His past policy and historic still matter. There is always a chance that voters who are currently leaning toward him will reconsider as we get closer to November. But if Democrats assume that they can win these voters back just by pointing to Trump's history, they are missing the bigger picture. This isn't about what Trump did in 2017, it's about what Biden is doing right now. The bottom line is this: Arab American voters are fed up, and their frustration is reshaping the political landscape in ways that could have a major impact on 2024 election. The question now is whether Democrats will take this seriously, or if they will continue to underestimate just how much damage has been done. Because if they don't wake up soon, they could find themselves losing not just Arab American voters, but also the election itself. Thank you for watching, and let's continue this conversation in the comments below. Let us share our thoughts and perspective with one another. Don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay updated on this story and more. I will see you in the next video.